The road was so quiet that even my breathing sounded like a crime. Gravel crunched beneath the tires, slow and deliberate, as if the car itself knew it was escorting me somewhere I would not return from the same way. I watched the trees slide past the window, tall, indifferent witnesses, and wondered when exactly my life had been reduced to this moment. Sitting in the back seat of my own son's car, dressed in black, my husband still warm in the ground behind us, and an unfamiliar fear tightening around my chest like a second heartbeat. Just 3 hours earlier, I had stood beside my husband's grave, my fingers numb from gripping a single white rose. 42 years of marriage had ended with a prayer, a wooden box, and the sound of earth hitting wood. People had hugged me, told me I was strong, whispered that I would be taken care of now. I nodded like a woman who still belonged somewhere. I didn't know those words had already expired. My son, Daniel, had insisted on driving me home. "You shouldn't be alone today, Mom," he said. His voice steady, respectful, almost rehearsed. I was grateful. Or maybe I was just too hollow to question anything anymore. But instead of turning toward my house, he took the long road. "Daniel," I said softly, adjusting my coat. "You missed the turn." He didn't answer. The car slowed, then stopped. In the middle of nowhere. Fields stretched on both sides of us, dry and abandoned, like promises that had been broken long ago. The sky hung low and gray, heavy with the kind of silence that comes right before something terrible happens. Daniel turned around in his seat and looked at me. Not with anger, not even with regret, just distance. "This is where you get off," he said. For a second, I genuinely thought I had misheard him. My ears rang, my pulse pounded, and the world narrowed to his mouth forming those impossible words. "What?" I whispered. He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Mom, I can't do this anymore." "Do what?" My hands trembled as they clutched my purse, as if it were an anchor. "Daniel, your father just..." "Dad's gone," he cut in sharply. "And everything changes now." I searched his face for the boy I raised. The one who cried when he lost his first tooth. The teenager who hugged me after his first heartbreak. But all I saw was a stranger wearing my son's eyes. "Where am I supposed to go?" I asked, my voice cracking despite my effort to stay calm. He opened the door. The cold rushed in like a verdict. "You'll figure it out," he said. "You always do." That was when I understood. This wasn't an argument. This was a decision he had made long before the funeral, long before my husband's heart failed quietly in his sleep. I stepped out of the car, my legs weak, the ground uneven beneath my feet. Daniel didn't help me. He didn't look back. The door shut. The engine started. And just like that, my son drove away, leaving me alone on a forgotten road, with nothing but grief, betrayal, and a question that echoed louder than the wind. How did I become disposable? As the car disappeared into the distance, I felt something inside me break. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with a slow, devastating crack that told me my life was no longer what I believed it to be. And I didn't yet know that this road wasn't the end. It was the beginning of my reckoning. I don't know how long I stood there after Daniel left. Minutes blurred into something shapeless. The wind sliced through my coat, carrying the smell of dust and dead grass, and with every passing second, the weight of what had just happened pressed deeper into my bones. I had no phone signal, no car, no plan, just a lifetime of memories that suddenly felt like lies. I started walking. Each step hurt, physically and emotionally, but stopping felt worse. My shoes sank into loose gravel, my knees protested, and my chest burned as if my heart were arguing with my body about whether it was worth continuing. As I walked, memories surfaced uninvited. I remembered the night Daniel was born, how my husband held my hand and cried harder than I did. I remembered quitting my job when Daniel was 5 because it made sense, because someone needed to be home, because family came first. I remembered forgiving my husband's silences, his long absences, the way my dreams were slowly folded and placed in storage for later. Later never came. A truck passed me on the road, slowing for a moment before speeding away. I didn't wave. I didn't beg. Somewhere deep inside, pride still lived, and it refused to die quietly. Eventually, I saw a small farmhouse in the distance, smoke curling from its chimney. Hope flickered, fragile but alive. When I reached it, my legs nearly gave out. A woman answered the door. She was older than me, with silver hair pulled into a loose braid and eyes that looked like they'd seen more truth than comfort. "Are you lost?" she asked gently. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "I think I was left." She didn't ask questions. She stepped aside and let me in. Her name was Margaret. She gave me tea, dry clothes, and silence, the kind that doesn't demand explanations. When I finally spoke, the words poured out like blood from an open wound. The funeral, the drive, the abandonment. Margaret listened without interruption. When I finished, she nodded slowly. "Men don't abandon women suddenly," she said. "They prepare." That sentence landed harder than any insult. That night, as I lay on her spare bed staring at the ceiling, I realized something terrifying. My husband had left me more than memories. He had left debts, papers, secrets, and a son who believed I was a burden, not a mother. The next morning, I borrowed Margaret's phone and made calls. Old contacts, former co-workers, people I had once helped, supported, loved. Most didn't answer. But one did. A woman named Claire, the same woman who had once trained under me before I quit my job decades ago. "You don't know how long I've waited for you to call," she said. Within days, my reality shifted. I learned the house Daniel assumed he would inherit was partly in my name. I learned my husband had quietly invested money without telling anyone. I learned I wasn't as helpless as I'd been made to feel. Most painfully, I learned Daniel had planned to sell the house before the funeral flowers even wilted. Betrayal sharpens the mind. As I stared at my reflection in Margaret's mirror, tired eyes, grief-lined face, I saw a woman I had forgotten how to be. Capable, angry, wait. And I made a promise to myself that day. I would not disappear quietly on a roadside. But I hadn't yet decided how far I was willing to go. The letter trembled in my hands as I read it for the third time. It confirmed what my instincts had already whispered. My husband had rewritten his will 2 years ago. Not against me but around me. He had anticipated something. Or someone. Daniel. My husband had left specific instructions. The house could not be sold without my consent. The accounts Daniel believed were his were frozen. And tucked into the final pages was a handwritten note addressed only to me. "I'm sorry I didn't protect you sooner." I cried then. Not the quiet tears of a widow, but the sobs of a woman finally seen. The weeks that followed were brutal. Legal meetings. Confrontations. Daniel showed up at Margaret's house once, furious, accusing me of manipulation, of ruining his future. I listened calmly, a strange strength steadying my spine. "You ruined nothing," I told him. "You just revealed who you are." He left without apologizing. I took a job, my first in over 30 years. The hours were long, the learning curve steep, but every paycheck felt like a declaration of independence. I rented a small apartment near the city. I donated the black dresses. I stopped waiting for permission to exist. One afternoon, months later, I drove past the road where Daniel had abandoned me. I pulled over, stepped out, and let the wind brush against my face. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Some betrayals don't destroy you. They strip away the illusions so you can finally see yourself clearly. As I got back into my car, I smiled. Not because the pain was gone, but because I had survived it. And this time I chose where I was going.